Welcome to the Nationsbest Brotherhood Podcast. I'm your host, Shane Larson, the Game Time Guru, and we're honored to be sponsored by Trophy Case Digital Trading Cards. The Nationsbest Brotherhood Podcast will be about the importance of brotherhood in sports. Each podcast episode will feature an interview with today's hottest athletes, coaches, league executives, and VIPs. The interviews will give you insight into their successful journeys in sports. The finale of each episode is where we ask our special guest one simple question. What does brotherhood personally mean to you? What's up, everybody? Welcome out to the Nation's Best Brotherhood Podcast, brought to you by Trophy Case Digital Trading Cards. I want to give a shout out to Trophy Case real quick. Massive shout out for them for being the presenting sponsor of this podcast. If you guys haven't checked out Trophy Case and made your own digital trading card, it's great. It's for every single athlete that's out there. Go to trophycase.com and create this. I was just talking to a friend of mine this morning, actually, about what Trophy Case is all about. I would highly encourage you guys to go do this. It's almost like if you have a link in your bio on your social media platforms and you want to have something to send to a coach or a recruiter, you can put yourself on here on a digital trading card. You click a button. It has all the links to everything you need, whether it's your huddle highlights, whether it's your transcripts, whatever it is that you need to show. You can put that here on a digital trading card platform and send a link to a coach, and it has everything on it. Go check it out. Shout out to Trophy Case. Again, go to trophycase.com. Here on the podcast today, we are blessed and honored to be joined by Shea Patterson. Now, Shea's a big name quarterback who has played for some prestigious universities and now will be taking his talents to the USFL, and we're going to get to know more about him and his journey and get to learn about what he's expecting moving forward. And we'll also be asking the question at the end about what brotherhood means to him. So, Shea, first and foremost, thanks for joining us here on the show.
Thanks for having me, Shane. It's a privilege to be on, man. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, Shea, one of the things is a lot of people know you. I know you. Like I said before, like what I actually run another show for Ohio State football. And I know it's kind of like, this is like a religious battle almost, but
yeah.
Obviously I know who you are because of my connections with Ohio State, my fandom for Ohio State and just being around that. But one of the things is, man, you've been able to play at a high level as a quarterback for some prestigious universities, not only in the SEC, but in the Big Ten. So I want to ask you, Shea, real quick, what it's like playing for both of them. And if you have any insight on, because there's always the conversation about the SEC, who is more talented than, is it the Big Ten or the SEC? So I want a perspective from a quarterback who's played at the highest level on both of those conferences.
Yeah. I'd say the biggest thing is, the thing that I was blessed with is the coaches that I was fortunate enough to be coached by each and every single year. My first year, I had Dan Werner, who was an all-time great coach in college, Phil Longo, who's at UNC, and Pep Hamilton now, who's the OC at the Texans, and of course Jim Harbaugh. So it was definitely a blessing to be able to play in the SEC and in the Big Ten, and kind of experience those similar talent levels, I guess. But no, I think the difference is just, I guess, the week to week grind. I think that the SEC is kind of almost like playing, it almost seems like an NFL schedule. You go out and you play Alabama, LSU, you turn around and you got Texas A&M, Florida, all those guys. So but then again, I think it's relative too, because Ohio State's obviously really freaking good, and Penn State's good, and Michigan State, on depending on the year, they're good. So to me, it was just kind of, I guess it just depended on the year, because everybody's good, man, when you go out there on Saturday afternoon, Saturday nights, and get it. Once you get on that field, I guess the talent level is pretty relative. But no, I really enjoyed playing in both conferences and being able to experience both ends of that.
Totally, man. And speaking of that, you mentioned some, big schools across the board, stadiums and everything. That's like a bucket list for a fan to go to, like every single one of those that you just mentioned. Was there a favorite stadium that you played in during your collegiate career that you can think of?
Yeah, Big House.
Of course.
Big
Okay.
House.
Of course. Okay. Let's talk about visiting stadiums, man.
I think the most exciting game, or the most exciting atmosphere that I played in was probably Texas A&M my freshman year at Ole Miss. mean, that 12th man, that place was rocking. And you had Myles Garrett coming off the edge every single snap, so that was pretty cool too. But no, I think Kyle Field was an amazing experience that night, and I really enjoyed that game. And obviously Penn State, and freaking video of me going out the first play of the game. I couldn't see the play clock because it was white. There's no excuses, but when you're looking at a sea of white in the play clock sport, that was kind of tough. But no, I think those two atmospheres were definitely up there.
You know, it's funny as you say that. That's like the trend that was going around even on TikTok. I think for the Penn State sound, everybody was using that, and it was the whole like Michigan coming out like I think it was the first play of the game, if I'm not mistaken. It was right after the kickoff or something. Yeah, it's loud. It has to be loud. So that's awesome, man. Now, I want to ask you, Shea, like as far as being an elite level quarterback and putting in the work, talk to the athletes that are out there. You know, the athletes that they say they want it. But maybe they don't understand the grind, or they just haven't spoken to somebody who's been there. I coach kids that are 17 years old for basketball, right? I'm a basketball coach. So like I see them, we take them to tournaments all across the country, and it's like we see what high level talent is, and sometimes they don't realize what it takes to get there. So I would love some insight from you if you could share. You know, now you're at the professional level, and we're going to get into that here in just a second, but it's not just playing D1 football at a high level. Now you're going to be playing professional football. And what does it take? What does it take to get there? What does a day look like for somebody who's wanting to compete at that level?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. As soon as you said that, I just thought of my strength coach at Ole Miss right when I walked on campus. It was one of our first workouts. His name's Paul Jackson. And the one thing he said to me was to remain as hungry as you are now throughout your time here. And, you know, when you're a freshman, when you're a true freshman or, you know, early enrollee guy, you know, you're in there and you're excited and you know, you're ready to go, you're putting in the work. And then I think it's just maintaining that work throughout your college career, you know, from a day-to-day basis, just waking up every day, trying to be the best version of yourself and really going out, especially as a quarterback, you know, you're the leader of the team and that's expected of you. And you're setting the example. But just being better than you were when you leave the office from when you walk in the office every single day, not just, you know, one day you feel like it, one day you don't. So, you know, yeah, when I was at IMG, I transferred to IMG in the middle of at the end of my junior year, and I really worked on my body. I worked on, you know, I got bigger, faster, stronger, gained 15 pounds of muscle, and really kind of lived like a college athlete my senior year in high school. And I think that got me ready to go in as an early enrollee at Ole Miss. But no, man, just some advice would just be, you know, focus on the now. You know, don't think, you know, if you did something in the past, if you're a 5-star recruit, it doesn't matter at all once you step on campus because you're starting fresh and, you know, not looking too far ahead into the future. You know, not worrying about the future, not worrying about when you're going to play. You know, it's obviously not a matter of when, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So, you know, yeah, just keep your head down and be the hardest worker you can possibly be from a day-to-day basis would really be kind of my advice.
I dig that. I hope the athletes that are listening are taking notes. That's one thing I always encourage people. Anybody who listens to a podcast or anything, if you're watching ESPN, whatever, I used to geek out as a young kid. I'd always just like write notes down. I was like that. Like listen to some like golden nuggets, especially what Shea just shared right there. Write it down. If you're on your mobile device, just open up your notepad on an iPhone and just type it in real quick what he just said. I think that's important to remember. So the USFL, this is something I've actually been geeking out about, man, because I'm a big proponent of, you know, football having additional opportunities at the professional level. It's unfortunate because it's one of the most popular sports on the American side of things. And so in the United States, it's one of the most popular sports, but then there's not a lot of opportunities. Whereas basketball, you can play overseas, you can do all your stuff. And yes, there are some football opportunities overseas, but it's not that. Baseball's the same way. Soccer's the same way. Everyone seems to have these opportunities, but football, for some reason, it just never did because the NFL kind of monopolized everything. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, you get the top talent there, but it just limits some opportunities. So when the XFL and the AAF and all these things were coming out, I actually was stoked about it. But then when I heard about the USFL making their comeback and I was reading, who was in charge and what was going to be happening, I was super stoked. So I'm actually really excited to hear your insight here because you just got drafted by the Michigan Panthers and you'll be playing for them. So talk to us about what you know so far of the league and what you're excited for going into this inaugural season of the USFL. I guess, and for those who don't realize, the USFL, it's not connected to the old USFL. It's a complete rebranding, complete different ownership. I just want everybody to know that. You can find that information out on the USFL website. I mean, there's a lot of information out there, but so this is the inaugural season of the current structured USFL. So talk to us about what you're excited for and what you know that's going on.
Yeah, man. First, I'm just ready to get back on the field and to do what I love once again. It's been a crazy 2 years since graduating, and I played in the spring league. I went undrafted. I didn't get picked up till like 3 or 4 weeks after the draft, so that was crazy. And then I ended up not even getting to go to Kansas City, who eventually signed me after the draft. I was just there for the virtual meetings. Then I ended up going to the spring league, who I think kind of has a similar guys who are running the USFL. I think they were kind of had a lot to do with the spring league. And after that, I went up to Canada, bounced around a little bit. So man, I'm so happy to be back in the States and just amped up for this opportunity. And as far as like what I know about the league, I didn't even know I was going to get drafted until like 3 days before the draft. So
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, and I actually hadn't talked to Coach Fisher up until I shook his hand on stage. So
Wow.
that was it was a cool experience. Very, very professional venue too down in Birmingham. But what I know right now is camp starts in 10 days. We got to be up there on the 22nd. We'll have 2 kind of preseason games, and then we'll have a 10-week season. So, and it's a hub concept. Everything's right in Birmingham. All the housing and meals are paid for. But yeah, I think it's just I think it's an opportunity for guys who kind of fell through the cracks a little bit, or whatever it may be, whatever their situation is, to kind of get another chance to show what they've got. It's been a hard 2 years on a lot of guys who are in this league, and I think everybody's just ready to get back out on the field and prove some stuff.
Heck yeah, man. That's what I commend you guys for, because there's people that always hate on these leagues. Like, oh, it's not the NFL. And I'm like, you guys don't understand. If you actually understood athletics, you would realize that sometimes that's about timing. Sometimes that's about the personnel that are on the rosters. You got a lot of veterans on rosters. There's only X amount of spots available. So like not everybody can be on the NFL roster. That's just the reality of it. But there's highly talented football players that deserve to be able to be playing, and you're one of them. And so that's where I'm like, I love these opportunities that they're providing with the USFL. And I think it's just an amazing opportunity for you guys to get out there and play and get paid to do what you love to do and be in front of that, and that's just an opportunity that everybody deserves. That there's some highly, highly talented athletes out there. Now, during that 2-year window, Shea, you mentioned a couple of things, the ups, the downs, you're playing for, you're still getting reps, but it's very inconsistent because you're going from place to place to place. So mentally, that can be taxing. So I would love to hear from you, not just the physical side of things, but like during the last 2 years, how did you mentally, stay on your game, if you will?
I was in 4th grade. I wrote a note on my wall, and it said that I will play in the NFL one day. That might be cliche to say because a lot of guys have done that, and but it's just the fundamental fact of just not giving up, man. I've been a lot of places the last 2 years, like I said, and it's been very challenging. But I've been fortunate enough to have a good support staff around me and help keep me going. And my faith in God has definitely helped. I know he never leaves me, and he didn't the whole entire process. And I think that relationship with God and just a willingness not to give up, man. Just to go out there and get another audition, if you will. But man, it's what I love the game of football, and I've been saying ever since I was a little kid that I want to play it. I want to play it for a very long time, and I'm sticking by that.
I dig that. I think that's awesome. That can easily break people. You know what I mean? And I think what you've done is you've been able to put your faith in the right places, put your focus there, and you keep working. It's the whole, mantra of stay ready, ain't got to get ready kind of concept. And you've been doing that. You've been staying ready, even if it's been tough. You've been staying ready. You put your focus in the right places, which is awesome. Here's the question I got for you. You've been around some high level athletes, bro.
Yeah.
Who's the best player you've played with? I know that's going to be tough because you played with quite a few of them, right? Like great athletes. Best player you've played with, and the best player you have played against in your time so far. I'm sure there's more to come, but so far.
That's a tough question. You put me on the spot. I got a lot of boys.
Yeah, they're listening, so let's see what you say. Who's your favorite, dude? Let's see who you lose as a friend. I'm just joking.
Oh, geez. Best player I played with. There could be so many guys that I could say, but I would have to go with AJ Brown at Ole Miss, man. That connection with him was a lot of fun when I was there, and he's just that type of guy that just makes something happen out of nothing. And I thought we played really well together. And he's a dog too. He's a dog. I'm trying to think. The best player I played against also could go so many different ways. You got Devin White at LSU. Didn't like him on the other side of the ball, just to say the least. And probably Jeff Okuda. My senior year at Michigan, he gave us some fits. In that game. So, yeah, I'd have to say him.
I dig that. That's awesome, bro. So I have so many things I would love to talk to you about, but we only have a limited amount of time. I want to respect your time, man. It's with you being a quarterback. One of the conversations I just literally had with a friend of mine this morning was, how athletes are the furthest thing from a dumb jock. I hate that statement, that as a quarterback, especially, we were talking about the different intricacies of the game. Even in basketball and stuff, I was talking to other coaches about the intricacies of sports. Football, especially as a quarterback, some playbooks in college, it might be a little bit shorter as far as your cadence, what you're going to be rolling out there as a football play and whatnot. But I was telling him how like certain quarterbacks have to know the plays, and those plays are extremely hard to understand. If you're a general fan, you don't even know the terminology. It's completely different, right? It's just like, it makes no sense. But talk to us about being a student of the game and how important that is for being a quarterback at the highest level, because we would love to hear kind of like, what does a play look? Oh, you're fine. What does a play look like for you? You don't necessarily have to give away the playbook, but what's like a play call that you had either at Michigan or Ole Miss and see if like anybody can even understand what that means. And secondly, what do you have to do to even just study and understand the plays?
Yeah, they just got to put in the time, man. Just like anything else, whether you're studying for an exam or studying in school. When I think in the last like 8 years, I've had about 12 offenses that I've had to learn. So I think the ability to learn quickly and to adjust and be adaptable is huge, especially in the game of football when you're kind of bouncing around like I have. In college, I had 4 OCs and 4 quarterback coaches, so it was
That's wild, dude.
A lot to learn, but I'm glad it happened because it's especially right now, it's helped me a lot because I'm starting to pick up things much more quick. But no, it's got to be during that time where you're starting to get ready for camp or going into a season and spring ball or in the off season, it's got to be your Bible, and it's got to be the first thing you look at when you wake up, or whether you want to do a Bible study when you wake up, that's fine, but it's got to constantly be right next to you. You got to eat, sleep, dream it until you get it down, and that's kind of how I did it. I also like to just write everything out, so I'll write out the entire playbook on my notes and just kind of study it until I got it. That's kind of helped me. But deuce right slot, North Army, Seminole. That's one play. That's a short play call too. It's just a play action, 7-man protection, just a kind of play action pass. But
That's just a kind of flex. See, that's what I love that though. I love how you just nonchalantly, you kind of understand it. That's what I wanted to hear. Like all those things that go into it, saying something like that, someone would have no clue what you're talking about if they're just a casual fan. And that's what I think is awesome. I commend you guys for it, especially quarterbacks at your level, Shea. It's so cool. I always made fun of people who hated on Alex Smith, who was the number 1 draft pick back in the early 2000s for the 49ers. And I was like, dude, he had like 8 offensive coordinators in his first 9 years. Like, give him a break, dude. He was changing his offense and so you just mentioned 4 and 4. Like, it's like,
yeah,
dude, that's
I don't
hard.
even know how that play call just came to my head. That was actually from my senior year at Michigan. Just thought of it. But another helpful way to remember whoever's out there, like early, maybe whether you're just going into college or you're in high school trying to memorize stuff, is one thing that helped me was to kind of say the play call out and record it on my phone, and just put some headphones in and literally record everything with your voice in the playbook, whether you have like play tags or defensive calls, protections, and just record it and just listen to it and say it over and over and over again until it just kind of sticks. So that was just another point to help, I guess.
There you go. That's another golden nugget. I would write it down
Yeah.
if I'm an athlete right now paying attention to that. I just remember Matt Hasselbeck, former quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks back in the day. He had mentioned something similar to what you had said too, but he would read his playbook to his daughter at night. She was, as a bedtime story, because he's like, the thing was like that big. And it's insane. So I think that's so cool, man. I appreciate you sharing that insight. Now, Shea, the last question I'll ask you before we let you go is regarding brotherhood. This is the Nation's Best Brotherhood Podcast. And in sports, you go to battle with your teammates, and there's always the brotherhood, or in the female realm, the sisterhood aspect of everything. You go there, you have your teammates, and they have your back. But I want to know what brotherhood means to you. So if you wouldn't mind, break that down for us as the last part of this interview.
Yeah, brotherhood. It's pretty much just being able to rely on the guy next to you, and trust, and be able to communicate and accept criticism just to get better as a whole, I guess, and really just caring for one another. And I mean, all of you are out there as a team, as a group, to accomplish one goal. And I think it's really important to kind of spend the time and get to know the guys and have a relationship with them before you go out to battle with them, before you get out on that field with them, and just have that chemistry going down. But yeah, I think the accountability factor, the ability to rely on someone, rely on the guy next to you, and be able to trust that dude's going to be where he needs to be when he's supposed to be there. Yeah, man, brotherhood just you also gotta love one another, man. It's one thing that I took from Coach Freeze was, it was actually before one of the games when I went to Ole Miss as a recruit. He said at halftime, I think it was before the Alabama game when they beat Alabama back when Bo Wallace was there. He said, we're not going to go out there and win this game because of hatred of them. We're going to go out there and win because of the love we have for one another. And that kind of stuck with me, just as in terms of talking about brotherhood. You go out there and love a guy, and you go out there and you want to play with that guy, and you want to be out there and win together. I think that's really important.
That's a huge one. Not gonna beat them because of the hate we have for them. We're gonna beat them because of the love we have for them. I love that. That's huge.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Shea. We want to, say thanks once again, man, and wish you the best of luck as you go into the USFL season. And hopefully you can get some time right now to enjoy some time with your fam before the season starts. And, we'll be watching you, and hopefully we'll be able to chat with you sometime in the future. But stay healthy, keep going, do your thing. And hopefully, that 4th grade note that you wrote down will come to fruition. We'll be able to see you in the NFL at some point, my man. So thank you so much, Shea. I appreciate you, my brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Shane. Thanks for having me.
Take care, brother. We'll see you.
All right, bro.